Discover 3 spine-chilling true stories of sinister hauntings and cursed secrets revealed. Jenna stood at the threshold of her new life, staring at the creaking Victorian house that loomed before her like a slumbering monster. Its peeling paint, shattered windows, and musty odor whispered secrets of sorrow long buried. A recently divorced mother seeking refuge for her 2 young kids, she took a deep breath and hoped this place would become a sanctuary. Little did she know, it had other plans. This town was haunted by shadows unseen, and Jenna was just stepping into a world of terror. As they settled in, the atmosphere thickened with tension. She wrangled unpacking boxes while her kids, Lucy and Max, explored their new home, giggling and squealing, yet Jenna felt the house sigh, an unnatural exhalation that made her skin prickle. At night, Lucy would wake screaming, eyes wide with terror, while Max would cry incoherently, his small body trembling beside her. They spoke of dark figures looming over their beds, a bone-chilling image that sent shivers racing down Jenna's spine. She brushed it off, attributing their nightmares to stress and the drama of their recent upheaval. Weeks in, Jenna's spirit remained upbeat, but her certainty creaked like the house itself. She reached out to her neighbors, one by one, but their responses only deepened her unease. "You'll be fine," a woman laughed nervously, her eyes darting away immediately. A man just shook his head, muttering something about realizing the truth relationship after relationship. Small talk turned into awkward silence, leaving her feeling isolated. Was she encroaching upon something that lay beneath the surface? The signs were growing too ominous to ignore. Before she knew it, dusk wrapped the house in shadows more pronounced than before. One harrowing evening, Jenna spotted a trapdoor in the living room. A thin layer of dust cocooned it, but curiosity propelled her forward. She lifted the heavy wood and descended into darkness, her heart hammering. The basement air was stale, thick with the scent of rot. Memories of the past visibly lingered. Old furniture lay scattered and untouched, but it was a box of photographs that snagged her focus. Jenna's fingers trembled as she sifted through the dusty memories. Smiling families stared back at her, and in each frame, the same local figure, a community leader with a predatory glint in his eye, watched them from afar. Panic bubbled in Jenna's chest as she connected the dots. Families vanished without a trace, replaced with the veneer of normalcy and civility this man projected. Suddenly, a gust of cold air howled through the basement like a wailing ghost, scattering the photographs to the floor. The walls appeared alive, creaking under the weight of secrets they harbored. Dark figures crept at the edges of her vision, murky shapes racing past the dim light of her phone. Jenna's breath quickened. Something was stirring, and it bore a chill that sank into her very bones. She wasn't alone. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jenna's instincts screamed for her to flee, yet her feet felt rooted in fear. Shadows twisted in the edges of her mind, and it was clear her new home held secrets too dark to face. Clutching her children tightly at her side, Jenna stood paralyzed. What secrets lurked within the walls? What grim fates had the house seen as darkness enveloped her? A low growl reverberated through the air, echoing the whispers that flooded her thoughts. Was she just beginning to uncover the real horror binding this family to the cursed history of the town, or had she unleashed something far more sinister? The darkness hissed her name, an invitation wrapped in rage and despair as she stood at the precipice of a nightmare waiting to reveal itself. Jenna's heart raced as the low growl resonated, wrapping around her like a vice grip. Cold sweat dripped from her brow, and she could feel the air thickening with a palpable weight of dread. The dim light from her phone flickered as if hesitant to illuminate the dark corners of the basement. "Mom?" Lucy's tiny voice piped up from somewhere behind her, the innocence of the question shrouded in terror. "Stay back," Jenna hissed, instinctively pushing her children behind her. Her eyes darted around, searching the shadows where the dim glow didn't reach. The growl faded, replaced by something else, an almost imperceptible whisper, like a sigh caressed by the wind. "Jenna," it called, smooth and silky, yet laced with malice. "No, no," she murmured, backing towards the stairs while still keeping her children close. Each step back felt like an invitation for whatever lurked in the dark to pounce. The photos lay scattered on the ground, faces of the past staring up into the void, and all she could do was hope they were just remnants of forgotten lives, innocent souls frozen in time. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed, piercing the heavy silence. Jenna and the kids jumped, instinctively clutching each other, their bodies rigid with fear. Something was coming. What it was, she couldn't tell. The air turned bitter, and the basement smell transformed, the stale rot sharp with the tang of something decayed. "Let us go upstairs," Jenna urged, her voice trembling as they turned to climb the rickety staircase. Shadows slithered up the walls, dark tendrils reaching for them, hungry and alive. As they ascended, Jenna felt a tug at her sleeve, a tug that sent icy dread pulsating through her veins. She whipped around to see nothing but the faded floorboards. "Mom, I saw it!" Max cried, his eyes wide, glistening with tears. "The thing in the corner. It was watching us." The urge to reassure him fought with her own rising panic. "It's just your imagination, honey. We're okay." But Jenna's voice felt hollow, even to her. They had seen things, far too many things beyond mere visions conjured in the thick twilight of a strange new home. Each step against the creaking floorboard seemed to echo loudly in the oppressive quiet. They reached the top, and the moment Jenna crossed the threshold into the living room, a chill swept past them, slamming the trapdoor shut with a force that rattled the house. Her breath caught in her throat, its resonance signaling that the basement was now a sealed tomb. "What do we do?" Lucy's voice trembled as she clutched her brother tighter. "We have to find somewhere safe," Jenna whispered, her eyes darting around for any sign of refuge. The shadows that had once just loomed now pressed near, weighty and invasive. Each flicker of candlelight cast dancing shapes that felt more like threats than mere shadows. Panic surged as they walked further into the dimness of the living room. The old furniture seemed to warp under the glow of the fading light, morphing into monstrous shapes that threatened to swallow them whole. She felt cornered, trapped in this house that masqueraded as a home, its dark history gripping them tighter. Then a noise. A soft rustling from behind her, a whispering just loud enough that Jenna could make out a voice. "Let us in, it's not safe anymore," it crooned, a familiar voice, unbidden and utterly wrong. Her stomach knotted as reality blurred. Fear twisted like a knife in her gut. Who was beckoning? Was it something from the past, or a trick of her imagination? "Mom! It's coming!" Max shouted, eyes fixated on the staircase, where shadows began to gather thick and heavy, swirling as if drawing life from the air. She turned to see the darkness had taken a shape, a silhouette that was all too familiar. Splintered thoughts surged like quicksand in her mind. How could this be happening? What were these spirits trapped and longing for something they could never have? With desperation clawing at her, Jenna grabbed her kids' hands, ready to dart for the door. They had to escape, but as she reached for the handle, it wouldn't budge. The whisper grew louder, an insistent chant that slithered under her skin. Let us in," it echoed, growing barer, more urgent. Jenna could hardly breathe, her heart thudding like a trapped animal. The door was no escape anymore, but maybe that was just the beginning. What awaited them beyond this threshold? More than she could ever imagine. Should she confront the darkness head-on and face whatever horror it held? Or was there another choice? Jenna's fingers fumbled over the doorknob, yet it remained rigid and unyielding, a grim reminder that escape was an illusion, the kind wrenched away by the sinister nature of this house. The whispers encircled them, a cold breeze slicing through the living room, chilling her to the bone. "Let us in," it taunted. Max's face was a mask of terror, his breaths coming in sharp, jagged gasps. Lucy buried her face in her brother's arm, the innocence of her world shattered. How could she protect them from a darkness they couldn't even see? Jenna's mind raced, each thought a jagged edge threatening to cut her resolve. With a surge of irrational courage, she turned, facing the overwhelming shadows that loomed closer. "What do you want?" Her voice quivered, more a plea than a demand. Silence followed, hanging in the heavy air. Then, a figure materialized from the darkness, a woman draped in a tattered dress that flowed like ink. Her face was obscured, but Jenna could feel the weight of her gaze, a piercing intensity that bore into her soul. Was it the embodiment of all the trapped spirits? The source of the shadows? "Mommy, please!" Max cried, yanking her arm. The room flickered as if reality itself hesitated, the walls pulsating with some malevolent heartbeat. Jenna felt dizzy, her senses heightening in the surge of adrenaline. Without thinking, she pulled her children toward the narrow hallway leading to the front door, praying it would yield even against the forces that gathered. But the silhouette glided forward, moving with unnerving grace, blocking her path. It spoke again, the voice a chilling song of familiarity. "You can't leave, you belong here now." Jenna's mind spun. "We don't belong to anything. We're leaving." She shouted defiantly, her voice tearing through the oppressive atmosphere, but deep inside she feared what it meant to remain. The figure hesitated, and the air around them thickened. "You can't escape your blood," it whispered, its words curling like smoke around her consciousness. Instinctively, Jenna understood, this was no mere haunting. It was a summons, a pull toward a legacy drowned in darkness and suffering. This knowledge struck her like a physical blow. Her own lineage bathed in tragedy, the house steeped in secrets she'd only begun to scratch the surface of. Were they truly trapped by blood, by fate? No. She screamed, forcing herself to move. She pushed past the entity, dragging her children along, their tiny bodies trembling against her urgency. With every step, shadows spilled from the corners of the hall, clawing and scraping against their skin. They reached the front door, and this time Jenna threw her weight against it. The wood held firm, stubborn against the emerging terror. Panic rose like bile in her throat. What had she brought her children into? Every second an eternity, the whispers promising eternal night echoed in her head. "You belong to us, let us out, please." Lucy sobbed, her small voice breaking Jenna's concentration. "Just hold on." Jenna cried, her heart racing as she searched for some sign of salvation. Then she felt a rush. The door quivered. A crack appeared, and light, pure and bright, spilled through that narrow gap. It pierced the darkness, revealing glimpses of what lay beyond the trees swaying outside, bathed in moonlight, offering a fierce contrast to the malignant presence that loomed over them. "Mom!" Max urged, desperation punctuating every syllable. In that electrifying moment, Jenna saw a chance, a flicker of hope amidst the nightmare. Grabbing the handle, she pulled with all her strength, adrenaline propelling her forward. But as the door creaked open wider, she heard the whisper again, now a scream of fury that shook the very foundation of the house. "Stop! You cannot leave with them. They are ours." Jenna's breath hitched, but she couldn't give in now. She couldn't let the shadows win. As the door burst open, blinding light engulfed them. She felt the writhing hands of darkness clutch at her, grappling, desperate. In that sweeping moment, grounded only by her children's cries, Jenna stepped out into the new world, ripping herself from the suffocating grasp of ancestral ghosts. But as they stumbled into the night, the calm air felt like a mask. She could still hear their whispers swirling in the shadows around her. A haunting promise lingered, "Far from over, you will return, we will reclaim you." What did this escape mean? Had they truly escaped, or was this just the beginning of an unending pursuit? And in her heart, a fear burgeoned. What would happen when the darkness finally caught up with them? The chill of the night air felt almost tainted as the family stumbled away from the house, the oppressive weight of its darkness still clinging to their skin. Jenna pulled Max and Lucy closer, her heart pounding, the sounds of the outside world a distant echo compared to the chaos that raged within her. "Where are we going, Mom?" Max's voice cracked, the anxiety in his eyes mirroring her own. A flicker of doubt crept in, slithering through her like the shadows that had haunted them moments before. "Anywhere but here," she answered, forcing herself to sound brave. She took a deep breath, trying to shake off the dread that gnawed at her insides. As they walked farther from the house, the shadows of the trees loomed high, branches reaching out like ghostly hands. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow on the gnarled roots that knotted the earth. "Mommy, I feel like they're watching us," Lucy whispered, her small body trembling beside Jenna. Every time the wind rustled through the leaves, Jenna felt her skin crawl as if the whispers from the house had spilled onto the night. Jenna looked at her children, anxiously scanning their surroundings. The oppressive silence of the woods was suffocating. "It's just the night, Lucy. We're safe, we just have to keep moving." Each step felt like a descent into another layer of darkness. Moments turned into minutes, and every sound became magnified: branches snapping, the rustle of leaves, faint whispers on the wind that seemed to taunt her. Were they really free? She could still feel the tug of the house in her veins. Then, just ahead, a flicker of light caught Jenna's eye. It pulsed like a heartbeat, a warm and inviting glow amidst the shadows of the trees. "Mom! Look!" Max pointed, hope brightening his expression like a lighthouse amidst a storm. "Maybe it's a cabin or a house," Jenna proposed, her instincts warring with her fear. They could find refuge, call for help, maybe even find answers. She pushed her doubts aside, urging them forward. As they approached, Jenna could see that the source of the light came from an old, weathered cabin. Its wooden beams, though creaky and frail, appeared untouched by time. An unsettling calm surrounded it, too calm. A gut feeling warned her, but they needed shelter. "Let us check it out," she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Together, they stepped closer, the door slightly ajar, creaking ominously as if inviting them in. Jenna hesitated at the threshold, her heart racing. The room inside was dimly lit by candles flickering in the corners, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Yet, the air was thick and cold, heavy with decay. Old furniture lay scattered, and dust coated everything like a shroud. "Is anyone home?" she called, her voice wavering. The silence that followed was profound, swallowing her words whole. The children stepped inside, eyes wide as they peered through the dimness. "Maybe we shouldn't be here," Lucy murmured, clutching Max's arm. Suddenly, a loud thump echoed from the back of the cabin, cutting through the uneasy silence like a knife. Jenna's heart raced, panic ignited within her. "Stay close," she whispered fiercely, pulling them both tightly together. The sound repeated, louder this time, followed by something that resembled sobbing. A chill washed over Jenna as she moved cautiously towards the source. "Who's there?" she called, her voice quivering. Without warning, the cabin door slammed shut behind them, plunging them into darkness. The whispers rose again, swirling around them like a storm, insistent and sinister. "Mom!" Max cried, clinging to her. The walls felt alive, squeezing in as if the cabin itself had become an entity. Jenna's hands trembled, and she fought the instinct to turn back, but they were trapped. Panic surged. She had fought too hard to lose them now. "Stop it! Let us go!" she screamed, fighting against the oppressive atmosphere that threatened to suck them in. But in that darkness, a figure emerged from the shadows, a blur of horror and desperation. "You cannot escape your fate," it rasped, voice laced with wrath. Jenna felt icy fingers claw at her heart, error settling deep within. What did it mean? What fate awaited them here? Just as she thought they were done for, a blinding light erupted from the corners of the room, pushing back the dark and illuminating the figure. For a moment, time stood still, and Jenna's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the anguished face. "Mom?" Lucy gasped, her face pale as she stepped back in fear. The figure was a reflection of herself, yet twisted hair wild, eyes eerily familiar but filled with sorrow. A scream surged in Jenna's throat, but the light began to fade, and with it, their chance for escape. Would they be lost in this endless nightmare forever, or could they confront what this other Jenna was trying to reveal? Jenna felt the air grow even colder, her breath forming white puffs as they all stood frozen. The figure, a ghostly version of herself, approached slowly, each step echoing like thunder through the cabin. Its eyes, dark and hollow, held a depth of anguish that sent tremors throughout Jenna. "You must understand," it whispered, voice trembling with a mix of anger and despair. "Stay back!" Jenna shouted, instinctively pushing her children behind her. Max and Lucy clung to her, fear painting their faces. In that moment, all that mattered was protecting them. What was this apparition? A painful reflection, or something far worse? The figure paused, raising a hand as if trying to calm them. "You can't escape. You've already chosen." "What do you mean?" Jenna hissed, the walls vibrating with her fury. "We didn't choose anything. Let us go." Each word clawed at her throat, desperation rippling through her. "Fate is woven by intentions and fears. Your past brought you here," the figure lamented, sorrow etched into its ghostly features. "It sees your pain, it knows your secrets. You can't outrun the darkness inside you." Jenna's heart dropped. Memories washed over her, relentless and brutal moments of anger, regret, and fear she had buried deep. It was true, the weight of those choices clung to her like a shroud. "No. You're wrong. We're here for safety, it's not our fault." She sensed panic in her voice. Another thump echoed in the silence, shaking the cabin to its core. The floorboards creaked as if the very structure was alive, joining the cacophony of whispers that jeered and scratched at the edges of her sanity. The sobbing grew louder now, a guttural sound intertwining with the whispers, creating a symphony of terror. Lucy whimpered. "Mom, I don't like this." "Neither do I, sweetie, but we have to face it," Jenna said, swallowing back her own fear. "We can't let it control us." "Face what?" Max breathed, eyes darting around the cabin. "What is it?" "Your darkness," the figure muttered, raising a hand, finally revealing the scars on its arms, crisscrossed like a road map of pain. "You have to confront your shadows. Only then can you free yourselves." The air thickened, shadows coiling tightly. Jenna felt as if she were standing in quicksand, the walls closing in. She turned to her kids, finding solace in their terrified but trusting faces. "We won't be prisoners here. We will find a way out." Suddenly, a flicker of light from the candle nearest to the figure spluttered to life, revealing the haunting face of the entity more clearly. "You cannot hide from what you truly are," it hissed. With a surge of determination, Jenna gripped the children's shoulders, urging them to step backward, attempting to gather whatever energy she had left. "We're not like you. We belief won't save you," it sneered, an almost triumphant tone breaking through the despair. "It only makes you a target." Max's eyes filled with tears. "Mom! I don't want to stay here." The walls creaked again, a warning reverberating through the ground. Jenna felt the icy fingers of fear steering her thoughts. If they were to escape, they needed to dismantle whatever darkness held them captive. "Then help us," she pleaded with the figure. "Tell us what we need to do." For a moment, silence wrapped around them, heavy and oppressive. Then the figure's eyes softened, a glimmer of humanity breaking through. "Only confront the truth, face what you've been running from. And only then will you have a chance to reclaim what is yours." Jenna felt the weight of its words, the emotion lacing them palpable. "What do we need to do?" she asked again, urgency flooding her voice. But before the figure could respond, the cabin shook violently, and the lights flickered again, plunging them back into darkness. In the distance, the sobbing intensified into screams. "Mom, what is happening?" Lucy cried, panic breaking through her voice. "I don't know." Jenna shouted back, trying to find her footing in the chaos. Then, a new sound roared through the cabin, visceral and terrifying, the sound of a door bursting open. Light streamed through. But this wasn't the warm glow they'd seen before. It was bright, unrelenting, as if inviting them into a different kind of nightmare. Jenna glanced at her children, despair tangled with defiance. "We have to go now." They ran towards the light, but the cries followed them, a reminder that wherever they went, the darkness would cling until they truly faced their fears. As the door swung wide, Jenna took one last look back at the figure, now shrouded in shadows once more. "Confront your truth," it echoed, as they plunged into the blinding light, uncertainty closing in around them. What awaited them on the other side? Would they find refuge or face the horrors that lay buried deep within their hearts? The blinding light consumed them, enveloping Jenna and her children in a cold, sterile brightness. It wrapped around them like a vice, squeezing the air from their lungs. Just as abruptly as it began, the light flickered and extinguished, plunging them into a different kind of darkness, one filled with a stillness that felt suffocating. Suddenly, their feet hit solid ground, and panic surged within Jenna as she scanned the unfamiliar surroundings. They stood in a vast, empty room, the walls covered in cracked paint and the floors littered with dust. Time itself almost felt suspended. She clutched Max and Lucy's hands tightly, heart racing. "What just happened?" she breathed. "Mom, I'm scared," Lucy whispered, her voice a thin thread of worry. It felt wrong. Something heavy hung in the air, a dread that clung to Jenna's skin. It felt as if 1,000 eyes were watching them from the shadows, hidden but present. "Stay close," she murmured, trying to keep her voice steady. Max, shaking, pointed towards the far end of the room. "Look!" A glimmer of light flickered at the edge of a heavy wooden door, slightly ajar. Chills skated up Jenna's spine. "Don't move," she warned, but the kids were already creeping closer, curiosity pulling them forward. The door creaked as if pushed by a phantom wind, revealing nothing but a dim corridor that stretched into oblivion. "Why is everything so dark?" Lucy asked, gingerly tugging at Jenna's shirt. Jenna took a breath, her mind racing. "I don't know, but we need to stay together." She pushed back against the fear threatening to swallow her whole and started towards the door. With each step, the air grew heavier as if they were wading through water laden with dread. As they crossed the threshold, whispers began to swirl around them, unintelligible at first but escalating into a cacophony of voices, every tone tinged with anguish. "Stop, leave, run!" Jenna's insides twisted as if the voices were a collective scream, clawing at her senses. "We have to find another way out," she urged, rushing forward before the walls seemed to close in. The corridor ran longer than she expected, the whispers dangerously close now, coiling around her thoughts. They seemed to know her secrets, pulling them into sharp focus, forcing her to replay her mistakes. No focus on the kids," she thought, shaking her head, but images flashed through her mind like snapshots. Moments of anger, betrayal, choices made that had led them here. An intense feeling of regret flooded Jenna. "I can't let this happen," she gasped, spinning back to Max and Lucy. But they looked different. Their faces had changed, etched with shadows that mirrored her ghost's hollowness. "Mom," said Max, his voice barely a whisper, laced with an echo that sent a shiver down her spine. "Are we trapped?" "Fight the darkness," she urged them, though doubt flooded her mind. "We're not giving in." Then the walls began to pulse, breathing like a living creature, matching the rhythm of their heartbeats. Shadows surged forward, dripping like ink as they stretched out toward the children, tendrils reaching hungrily. The whispers morphed into shrieks, a terrifying sound that tore at Jenna's sanity. "Run!" she shouted, yanking her children forward, pushing through the encroaching darkness. We have to keep moving. Max and Lucy ran alongside her, the cold tendrils grazing their backs, threatening to pull them in. Jenna could feel their warmth slip away as if the shadows were stealing their very essence. They burst through yet another door, slamming it shut behind them, breathless. A small room illuminated by a flickering bulb overhead revealed a table covered in dust, scattered trinkets, and an ancient mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. Jenna approached cautiously, drawn as if the mirror held answers. Mom?" Lucy's voice broke through the tension. "What if it shows us something bad?" "Or something good," Max added, hope fighting against dread. Jenna hesitated, her hand hovering over the cracked surface. She felt the pull of her own uncertainty reflected back at her. What truth lay behind that glass? What darkness would she need to face next? Suddenly, the whispers returned, stifling and demanding. Look in the mirror." With a deep breath, Jenna steeled herself. The room darkened, shadows creeping along the walls. "What if we don't like what we see?" she asked, almost to herself. But already, she could feel it drawing them closer, the reflections of the past beckoning them to confront the truth within. Could they endure what awaited them? Or was this the beginning of the end? The mirror's surface began to ripple like water, distorting Jenna's reflection. It was as if the glass had drawn the very shadows around them into its depths, creating a swirling abyss that tugged at her senses. Jenna's heart raced, panic clawing at her throat. "Stay back!" she shouted, but the children were already entranced, their eyes wide with fear and a dark curiosity. "What is happening?" Lucy murmured, her voice trembling as she reached for the mirror, fingers brushing against the glass. The surface shivered in response, and Jenna felt a visceral jolt of dread. Shadows inched closer, creeping along the floor as if the darkness was alive, wanting to swallow them whole. The whispers escalated, now a deafening chorus. "Look closer, see what you've done." "No!" Jenna screamed, grabbing Lucy's arm. "We can't. We need to leave." But before she could pull her children away, shapes began to materialize within the mirror, familiar faces twisted in anguish. Jenna gasped as she recognized her mother, eyes wide with despair, mouth moving but the words drowned by the chaos. Followed by friends, long lost, faces she had turned from in moments of selfishness. Each haunted visage was a dagger to her heart, digging deep into her regrets. Max stepped closer, entranced. "Mom, is that?" "No!" Jenna shouted again, the shadows thickening as they clawed at the edges of her resolve. She felt them spreading like a pervasive fog, spreading despair, reliving all her failures. The mirror shimmered brighter, as if excited by the fear, and in that flash of brightness, Jenna glimpsed a figure lurking behind her, something sharp and angular, with hollow black eyes. It slipped back against the wall, but she felt its presence lingering, heavy and predatory. "Run! Now!" she roared, shoving her children back as she darted toward the door. It slammed shut just as she reached for the handle, rattling ominously as the whispers reached a fever pitch. "Run!" Max and Lucy stumbled back, their eyes terrified, and a shudder passed through Jenna. The very air seemed to thrum with a malign energy, begging them to submit. They rushed to the door on the opposite side of the room, knocking into it as they pushed through together. Emerging in a long, narrow hallway, they were engulfed in darkness again, a weight pressing down upon them. Jenna instinctively grabbed for her children's hands as they raced ahead, each heartbeat echoing ominously in her ears. The shadows taunted them, whispering promises of doom. "You can't escape, you will face the truth, you belong to us." Confusion and dread battled in her chest as she glanced back, her heart dropping. The door they had just escaped through now stood ajar, the mirror reflecting a haunting stillness. Jenna turned her focus forward, adrenaline fueling their flight as the endless corridor stretched before them, dank and oppressive. Shadows flitted across her vision like ravenous insects, always lurking. A soft hum tinged the air, growing louder with each step. "What is that?" Lucy whimpered, her eyes darting nervously. Jenna shushed her, but fear twisted into her gut. It felt like an invitation, a siren's call pulling them into the depths of this nightmare. As they rounded a corner, Jenna stumbled upon a room filled with forgotten relics, furniture draped in white sheets, like ghosts of the past. In the center sat a table with an ornate music box. The hum emanated from it, an eerie melody piercing through the silence, seductive yet terrifying. "Mom?" Max's voice wavered. "What if it means something?" "Do not touch it," Jenna yelled, feeling a desperate pull toward the music, as if every word could unravel them further into despair. The shadows pressed closer, and she knew that whatever lay within that box could either seal their fates or offer a path back to what, she wasn't sure. She needed to choose: face the music, or flee. Just as she prepared to act, the whispers intensified, drowning out her thoughts. "Open it, find your truth." The choice loomed, pressing down, while behind her, shadows surged forward like a tide ready to break. Jenna knew one thing: there was no escaping their fate without confronting what awaited them. But the music swelled, the melody entrapping her mind as darkness gathered, and Jenna could feel its icy grip tightening. Would she dare to set them all free, or dive deeper into the abyss? Jenna stood frozen. The melody wrapped around her like a cold veil, whispering promises, secrets begging to be unearthed. "Mom," Lucy's voice quivered, "please don't let it take us." "Stop." The shout erupted from her throat, echoing against the walls, drowning out the whispers that clawed at her sanity. She could feel the shadows tightening, seeking any way to siphon off her fear. Max's hand slipped from hers as he stared at the music box, entranced. "It could help us, Mom. What if it shows us a way out?" "No." Jenna's gaze darted between her children and the box. The tension crackled in the air. The shadows from the corners seemed to sway in rhythm to the haunting melody, hungry and eager, as if they could feel their fear and were feeding off it. "Max! Lucy! We have to go now," Jenna commanded, overwhelmed but resolute. Her heart raced, blood pounding in her ears. She stumbled towards her son, feeling a sudden chill against her back. A shadow darted past her, too quick to identify, and she shivered. "Mom!" Lucy's voice peaked, heavy with panic. Jenna turned to see her daughter staring at the music box, mouth agape. The familiar, yet sinister, faces from the mirror flickered again in her mind, and she wrestled with the weight of her failures and fears. "Jenna," the shadowed whispers echoed from the void, a chorus of her past mistakes. "You know the truth." Tears sprung in her eyes. "No. I'm not doing this." She dashed for Max, grabbing his wrist. The music swelled again, an unbearable cacophony of sorrow and longing, twisting her insides. She could feel the inevitability of their fate resting on the edge of the music's note. A force tugged at Jenna, pulling her toward the box. It was impossible to resist. It called to her very essence, and her heart began to ache with a sorrow she didn't fully understand. "Mom!" Max shouted, yanking against her grip. Desperation either fueled him or blinded him to the danger. "Just listen to it." "No." She wrestled with him, pulling him back, but the melody shimmered, vibrant and arresting. It promised clarity, a glimpse into their intertwined fates. Max's gaze softened. "If we open it, maybe we can see what happened. Maybe we can. Don't say it. We're not here to relive those moments." Jenna's voice cracked, the shadows pressing harder against her psyche. The air thickened, it felt electric, crackling with energy. Ignoring her instincts, she stepped toward the music box despite herself. It was as if she were caught between worlds, the past tugging at her and the future pushing her away. She was trapped in an impossible choice. Suddenly, the melody shifted, transformed into a mournful wail, sudden and icy. The shadows, now restless and stirred to life, swirled around them like a storm, pulling at her hair and clothes. Jenna felt panic clawing at her mind, her heart racing as she struggled against its grip. "We can't change what we did, Max," she shouted, knowing the weight of her words. You have to understand. Maybe we don't have to change it, Mom. Maybe we can finally forgive ourselves. Max's voice broke through her fear. The swell of shadows drew closer, and Jenna's breath caught. Out of nowhere, a single hand reached from the darkness, trembling. It stretched towards the box, yearning for something Jenna couldn't quite place. Suddenly, a thought pierced through her mind. The corners of the room seemed darker, the shadows more pronounced. Jenna stepped back, realization dawning like ice in her veins. What if it doesn't just show our truth? What if it tries to take it? At that very moment, a blinding flash erupted from the music box, illuminating the room. Jenna shielded her eyes. In the brilliant light, the whispers morphed into terrified wails. You will pay for your sins. An ice-cold gust swept through the room, and the shadows surged like a tidal wave, ready to envelop them whole. Mom, don't let it. Lucy screamed as the room began to tremble. The music grew frantic, its tempo rising to a fever pitch as Jenna fought to hold on to her children, but the power of the box was too strong. Each note felt like an anchor, dragging her family deeper into an abyss they might not escape. As the light dimmed, she could barely see their faces, horrified reflections of her own dread. Would they stand firm against the darkness or be consumed by it? The light flickered before darkness swallowed the room whole, plunging them into silence. What had they just inadvertently awakened in the shadows? And more terrifyingly, would they ever find the way back home? Jenna knew one thing as her vision blurred: some tunes, once played, could never be forgotten. Would they dare to play it one more time? Jenna gasped as darkness swallowed them whole. A cold weight settled on her chest, pressing down like an unseen force. Panic clawed at her throat, she felt invisible hands gripping her tightly, dragging her family into a void that seethed with whispers. Max! Lucy! She screamed, but her voice echoed back eerily, distorted and flattened by the obscurity surrounding them. Where were they? More importantly, where were the kids? Mom, Lucy's voice trembled through the murkiness, sounding closer but barely recognizable. I can't see you. Hold on to my voice. Reach for me. Jenna's heart raced, and she stumbled forward, her hands blindly searching. The air felt heavier, suffocating, as if the shadows themselves were tightening around them. Each breath became a struggle against a thick, oppressive mist that clawed at her lungs. Suddenly, a dull resonance vibrated beneath her feet. It wasn't music, but something darker, a rhythmic pulse like a heartbeat. It drove the shadows deeper, more aggressive, shoving her into an unknown descent beneath their very feet. What is happening? She gasped. Mom, it's the box. Max shouted, the boy's voice filled with terrified urgency. It's glowing. At his words, a flicker of light broke through the utter blackness, shimmering like a distant beacon. Jenna's instincts screamed at her to turn away, to run, but fear for her children anchored her. Stay close. I'm coming. Jenna bolted towards the glow, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The shadows lunged at her, brushing over her skin like icy fingers, leaving a chill that curled her spine. As she rushed closer, the shape of the music box emerged, suspended in a whirlpool of darkness. The intricate carvings twisted and appeared to shift under the light's embrace. It was alive, pulsing yet again, beckoning her to unleash its secrets. What happens if we touch it? Lucy's fear-filled voice quivered, resonating with the unease that gripped Jenna's heart. Don't touch it. Jenna warned, compelled instead to reach out. She needed to see what fate awaited them. We can't let it, but already, Lucy's hand reached out towards the edge of the box. Max was not far behind, stepping toward the glimmering draw of the cursed artifact. Stop. Jenna lunged forward, fearing the inevitable. But the box seemed to sense her trepidation, and with a snap, its lid flew open, revealing a chilling darkness within, deep as the void around them. A shudder ran through the air, stirring a thick fog that lunged at the children. Jenna! Max cried, his eyes wide as the darkness erupted from the box, writhing like serpents unleashed. No! Jenna threw herself between her children and the sinister mass. It rippled and shifted, morphing into distorted faces, horrified, agonized expressions that echoed the past. They reached out, seeking something Jenna couldn't rationalize. "Mom!" Lucy wailed, gripping her arm, teeth chattering. Jenna could feel her daughter drawing further away, pulled by the sinister lure of the box. The shadows whispered, luring Max close, echoing his name like a taunt. "Come, Max, come to the truth," they hissed, seductive and low, weaving desires Jenna had buried long ago: regret, sadness, fears. "No!" Jenna screamed again, "Look away. This isn't your truth." But the shadows tightened around her, their presence now suffocating. Jenna could feel herself slipping, balance tipping between light and dark. The air shimmered, distorting everything. The music box reflected memories, fractured moments of love and loss, of pain and temptation. "Mom, I need to know." Max's voice trembled, wavering like the candle flickers of their hope. Jenna's heart broke, poised between protecting him and losing him to the temptation of revealing long-buried secrets. "Max!" she shouted, desperation rising. "Run! We can't let it take hold." But just as her words left her lips, the darkness lunged, ensnaring their bodies with a force too strong to resist, dragging them closer to the edge of the box. And then the light flickered, revealing the faces of their past, echoes of sorrow laced with madness, haunting, beckoning. For something too terrible to comprehend. In that moment, Jenna knew they were facing a choice that could change everything. "What if we don't want the truth?" she whispered, frantically searching for a way out of the chaos that spiraled closer. With hearts pounding, Jenna and her children stood on the precipice of revelation. As the darkness waited to ensnare them, one question lingered in the suffocating air: would they find salvation or be pulled forever into the abyss of their own making? Jenna's heart raced as the shadows swirled around her like a storm. The air was thick and suffocating, crackling with the weight of despair. Her children were slipping through her fingers, and in that moment, she realized the music box was not just a vessel of their past but a doorway to the truth they were terrified to confront. "Mom, I can't hold on," Max cried, his little hands struggling against the pull of the box. "Fight it, Max. Fight it," Jenna urged, despair creeping into her voice. She threw her body between the box and her children, heart pounding. The shadows hissed, voices echoing her fears, pulling at the corners of her mind. Suddenly, as if in a cruel twist, the shadows rippled, revealing glimmers of their past, moments of joy twisted into regret, memories of laughter shadowed by grief. Jenna felt each memory stab her heart, echoing the very choices she wished to forget. "No!" she shouted, anger rising to the surface. "You will not take them." Her body surged with fierce protectiveness. She had fought too hard to bring them out of that cursed house, and she wouldn't lose them to the darkness that haunted her. "Mom!" Lucy sobbed, her voice raw with fear, the shadows curling like smoke around her. "Hold on to me!" Jenna yelled, reaching for her daughter while fighting against the darkness that encroached. With desperation bubbling over, Jenna grabbed her children and pushed them toward her, clinging to each other tightly. "Close your eyes. Don't look at the box." She could feel the shadows seeking a new way to infiltrate their minds, weaving their darkness into a tapestry of fear. In that moment, as the echoes of their past and the whispers of the shadows grew louder, Jenna heard something else, a familiar sound shimmering through it all. It was a melody, not the haunting music from the box, but a song from her childhood, filled with laughter and warmth. It wrapped around her heart like a warm embrace, pushing back the shadows. Yes, yes, she thought, a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. This song, this love, was stronger than fear. "Max, Lucy, focus on the song. Think of all the good times. Think of home." She felt the weight of her own memories shift, transforming into strength. The shadows began to recoil, shrieking in fury as she took a step forward, determined to face the darkness. Shaking, she unleashed the power of every joyful memory she could muster, moments of giggles and warmth, of cozy evenings spent together, of laughter echoing through their lives. "Mommy, please!" Lucy cried, her grip tightening. "Let your love be louder than their whispers," Jenna commanded, her voice growing steady, rooted in conviction. Together, they stood firm against the tide of darkness. Their thoughts woven with tales of love acted like a shield, a barrier that began to push back against the shadows that clawed at them. "You don't own us!" Jenna screamed, feeling the rising power fill the air around them. Light erupted from within their hearts, banishing the shadows as the past relinquished its hold. The music box quaked, shrieking in protest. Jenna's breath hitched as the light engulfed them, transcending the icy fingers wrapping her mind. "Mom, it's working!" Max shouted, eyes shining with determination. "Yes! We're breaking free!" Jenna felt her heart swell with pride and an unrelenting drive to protect her children. With one last push, they thrust themselves forward, leaving the music box behind as a stark scream erupted from it. The dark faces twisted in agony, their whispers dissipating in the brilliance of love and light as Jenna and her children burst through into a realm beyond the shadows. Suddenly, they landed in the cool grass of the moonlit night, surrounded by the beauty of nature. The sun peeked over the horizon, casting away the shadows that had haunted them. Jenna gasped, lungs filling with the fresh scent of a new morning. They were free. "Did we do it?" Lucy asked, wide-eyed, glancing around as if expecting the shadows to return. "It's over," Jenna whispered, disbelief lacing her words. She hugged them both tightly, tears of relief spilling down her cheeks. "We faced it, and we won." As light flooded their surroundings, Jenna felt a weight lift from her heart. They had confronted their fears, tackled the horrors buried within their history, and emerged stronger, bound by love and resilience. But Jenna knew the journey wasn't over. The shadows might linger in the recesses of their minds, waiting. Yet as long as they stood together, she believed their bond could withstand anything. They were each other's light. "Let us go home," she said softly, interlacing her fingers with Max and Lucy. Together, they walked toward the dawn, renewed hope rising within their hearts. No longer prisoners of their past, they had taken the first step into a future filled with endless possibilities. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. If you've enjoyed this story, you need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss our next exclusive tales. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep the fire burning. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories. I want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this ending. Together, let us grow our community of true fans.